Good morning. Great to have you with us. So this is the What's Going On slot. You remember Guy and Hazel have been doing this for the last couple of weeks, and we thought it would be a nice idea just to keep this running, just to keep you all up to date and get information across. Some weeks we may do it, some weeks we may not do it. So don't worry if there's a Sunday when it's missing. It's probably just because there's nothing we were wanting to update you with that week. But today we're going to be doing some more updating.
Yeah, good morning everybody. Lots of information going to be given out over the next month or so, as we've said. And as we all know, a lot of information tends to generate questions. So you can rest assured if you've got a question burning away in the back of your mind, you're probably not the only person. So you could be doing a favour to other people if you ask that question. So if you've got any questions, if you could email them into Cecilia, who will collate them for us. And then if it's appropriate to answer the questions on this slot, we'll be able to do that. If it's more appropriate that you get an individual answer, then we'll be able to do that as well.
So Jane, I believe we've already had one question, is that right?
We have.
What was the question?
Okay, so this is the question, folks. When we became members of DCF, there were 3 conditions that we had to satisfy. They were, number 1, to accept the leadership of DCF and its structure and work within it. Number 2, to live a life that's consistent and worthy of being a Christian. Number 3, to accept and fully agree with the statement of DCF. And this person has asked, can we expect that these conditions of membership will be transferred to Hope Church?
What a brilliant question that is, isn't it? And I'm sure this person wasn't the only person who asked that question.
I'm sure you're right.
Really important, because Guy was talking last week about having to lay stuff down. I'll be talking a little bit about that this week in the preach as well. And it's just like, so what things do we leave behind and what things do we take with us? So the answer to this question is really easy. Absolutely, it'll all be the same. That will be all transferred. So the point number 1 to 3 that you've got there, the whole lot will be taken over. And just on that point, if you're not aware of it, if you go onto the church website and you go into the What We Believe section, you will find a little summary of what we believe, but added in there is a tab which has our statement of faith in. So if you want to have a look at that, have a go in and have a look at it. Thank you to whoever this was who sent this question in. Like Jane said, if you do have more questions, do email them in. You can do it through the church website, and Cecilia will pick those up. Excellent. So I wonder how this replanting journey has been going for you. It's been going on for a little while now, really, hasn't it? I was trying to work out how long it is. Can you remember?
I'm never very good for dates. I think at least about 5 years. I want to say about 5 years.
I guess it probably is. I guess for me, it's probably from, 2013 was when it started for me, when God really spoke to me incredibly clearly, and anyone who at the members meeting in 2013 would remember that. I guess that was probably the start of it for me. We just want to reflect just for a few moments, just share with you how it's been for us, really, this replanting journey. So Jane, how's it been for you so far?
Okay, that's a difficult question. Because actually in some ways you could speak for ages and ages on this.
You haven't got long.
I haven't got long. Okay, I'll try and condense it down. I'll try not to waffle. Before lockdown, Andy and I went to have some pottery lessons with somebody who lives in the next village from us. And it was a really lovely time, but actually it taught me an awful lot. And I was reminded of it last week and the week before when Shirley shared her the vision that God had given her about the potter's wheel and the chessboard and the rivers. It just reminded me of our time. And I was reminded how much when a piece of clay is in the potter's hand, there's a lot of things going on there, and a lot of it isn't very comfortable. You know, the clay really gets pressed down hard by the potter's hand when it's being shaped. It gets pressed down and it gets pulled up and it gets squeezed out. It gets cold water thrown at it. It gets sliced by this very sharp looking instruments that we were given, gets dug into by sharp instruments, and then the poor thing generally ends up in a fiery kiln. So, but of course it comes out the other end as a very useful pot, not just a lump of clay, a very useful pot. And I was thinking, to be honest, for me, this replanting journey has very much felt like that. There's been an awful lot of stuff that's been really exciting when we've seen answers to prayer, we've seen money come in, we've seen a lot of confirmation that this is indeed God's journey for us. However, it's not all been easy, and it's sometimes, to be honest, I found it really difficult. But I expect others of you have felt the same way at times. But I actually think that's confirmation in many respects that God is doing a work in our lives. Because if it all felt like it was all hunky-dory and really easy going, to be honest, I don't know how much we'd be recognising God's hand on us and how much we'd be allowing him to mould and shape us and change us, because we all need that. We all need to be changed. So I would say, if you're finding it hard, like I have found it hard at times, take heart, because that can be a sign that actually God is doing that work that only he can do, changing us and moulding us and making us into the people that he really wants us to be. And also, I just want to encourage you, I think quite a few of you will know that my dear old dad passed away at the beginning of December this year. And the week before he died, my mum and dad were having their quiet time together, and these are the verses that God gave them, and they shared this with us. And as a family, we very much took this to be God's words to us, and I think we can as a church family as well. So in the beginning of 2 Peter, Peter says, "Grace and peace be yours in abundance through the knowledge of God and of Jesus our Lord." Then he goes on to say this: "His divine power has given us everything we need." And I'll leave it at there. His divine power has given us everything we need. We've got to hold on to those promises. You know, God is going to give us. He gives us grace. He gives us peace. Not just a little bit. He gives it in abundance to get us through this. And also, his divine power has given us everything we need. He is going to continue to supply everything that we need as a body of believers moving forward in this replanting phase into Hope Church.
So that's it for today. That's the update from the What's Going On. Jane, thank you so much for sharing that with us. That was really, really useful. So hope you found this slot useful. We will be hopefully revisiting this in the future. You'll be getting more What's On slots. Don't forget, if you've got any questions, do contact us, let us know. There's probably somebody else with exactly the same question and hasn't got around to asking, so maybe you're the one who should ask.